Hi guys, how are you? We're gonna start the show at 9 o'clock, okay? Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry. Yeah, just give me one moment. Okay, y'all. Mm-mm-mm. How you doing? Man, hi guys. One person like you guys. I have so much going on right now, but we're gonna get this show done tonight. And so let's share the show. Tonight we're talking about I forgot to even share the link for everybody else. Let's post the link. It is 9 o'clock. And we're going to get started. Happy Sunday. How's your Sunday going? You guys, I'm tired today, but we are here. Mm. Welcome to Let's Talk with Miss B. Tonight we're talking about, all right. So tonight we're talking about the idea. Looks like I didn't spell that right. Idea of forever after. Is it realistic? I'm seeing some error already. Oh, Anna is here. Welcome. Can you guys hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I hear you.
I'm running a little bit behind today. And but we can get started. How was your day going?
Good. I just wanted to give you a heads up that my phone is gonna go off later, but let me see if I can transfer the thing to my laptop.
Okay. I mean, my plan is for us to just do like 45 minutes or an hour.
Okay.
Um, Hopefully we can get through it really quickly.
Okay.
I'm noticing some typo on the banner that I posted. Let me just go and edit it really quickly. I think I spelled idea wrong. Let's see. I gotta log in to my phone from there. All right. So what was something amazing somebody did for you this week, Anna?
Someone cooked me a nice meal and brought to my house. It was the
Oh,
best. I
that's
just
so
finished the
sweet.
last one today. What about you?
Um, Sorry, let me get this thing edited first. That looks like I messed it up. All right, I got it. This week, I think I was talking about. I think you're aware. I went back to my old job and I'm doing some training with the new company. And I learned something new about, management style. You know how you typically hear like treat people how you want to be treated. That's like the golden rules, right? So
Yeah.
this week I unlearned that, and I find out something about the platinum rules. So the platinum rule basically says that you should treat people how they want to be treated. And I feel like that was something that was really an eye opener for me, because I feel like my entire life I've always heard treat people how you want to be treated. So the instructor I kind of like helped me understand um like life in another perspective. So I think that was amazing. Um
I would love for you to elaborate on that. Don't
right,
everybody want to be treated nicely?
right. And that's what I was asking. So I asking, some people don't want to be treated nicely. And then he said that the choice is yours. You could choose to do that. You could choose to not, partake into the negative. But basically, I guess he was talking about it from the point of a manager standpoint, like you're a leader. And if everybody wants to be treated badly, would you want to treat them? Some people don't like to be. For instance, I think the example that he gave was, let's say you and your husband, right? He likes. Let's just say, for the sake of the topic or the argument, that he likes chocolate and you like flour, right? So, but you like to get gifts. So, would you get him um flour instead of chocolate? Because that's what he likes. Or during the holiday, let's just say during, what is it? July, not July 4th, Valentine's Day, right? Let's say he absolutely hates Valentine's Day, but you like it. Because of that, he's like, oh, let me get her a gift. And then you're like, okay, because he got me a gift, let me get him a gift. That's not, I mean, that's just a little bit of, that's just the easiest way I can kind of like explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you treat somebody how you want to be treated, then what are they gaining out of it physically?
Mm-hmm.
You
It's
know?
teaching them how to be, to treat other people.
Right, right. So if they, let's just say, I don't like for people to talk to me harsh. Some people understand that, and they like it that way because they feel like you're being real with them. So would you treat me that way? So basically, kind of like being situational and
Yeah, being
understanding,
realistic.
right?
I
Like picking
get.
the moment and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what it kind of mean. I felt like he meant about that, and I really didn't understand it, the whole platinum rules and all of that. And I was like, wow. So now I'm reading more about it to really understand it and try to see how my life fits in it.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Yeah, let's jump into it. So tonight's topic is what is it? Is forever. What is this? Oh, geez, I
Do
can't
do
even
I
think.
believe in living happily ever
Happily
after?
ever after. Yes.
I
Happily
believe.
ever after.
I believe happy living happily ever after is something that is real. It can happen, but I feel like everyone's happily ever after is different. Like in
Hmm.
fairy tales, happily ever after entails no having issues in a relationship and things like that. But like in today's world, there's nothing like a perfect relationship. Every relationship has issues, but you have to pick and choose your happily ever after. So you can create your
Right.
own, if that makes sense.
I agree. So you're saying the idea of it, is it realistic today in today's world, like in the modern world? Do you think that idea of it, like,
Yes, I think it's real, but I think that it's not the same as how fairy tales portray happily ever after. You know what I mean? Like
right?
in the fairy tale books, a
Hmm.
prince and a princess, they don't have issues like that, right? They'll probably have maybe one big argument, and then they get back together, and then they will never have any other issues, and everything will be great. But in today's world, you can be, don't touch the baby's eye. You can be in a happy relationship with someone and have misunderstandings here and there, but you would choose what you can tolerate and what you cannot tolerate. You can have someone that you guys get along so well, but you guys have little misunderstandings here and there, but you guys are happy being with each other and being around each other's company.
Right. So I want to ask, some people, just in case they're watching outside of here. Hey, River says Pro, welcome to the show. Just for the sake of them, just for people to understand what happily after is, because some people watching this, they probably don't. I don't know. I feel like everybody has heard about it, but then again, we can't assume everybody knows what that means. But I absolutely agree with you. Happily ever after basically is an expression that means to live happily for the rest of your life, with someone, like in a relationship. Like you find your partner and you feel like, yes, this is my person. But I feel like what Anna just says, you can create your own, but what we all know what the happily ever after is, which I feel like a lot of people seek that their entire life. And this is why there are so many people disappointed and living their life in a way where they're like, okay, I can't find the one. And actually, that's a topic that I'm going to talk about. I don't want to put a date on it, but what is the one? When we live, especially young girls and boys. I don't know if boys really think about this, but I feel like after, like Anna was saying, we watch these, movies where we're thinking like happily ever after is like I'm a princess, a gentleman's gonna come and sweep me off my feet, and we're gonna live the dream, and we strive our entire life looking forward to that, and just and then when we get to a certain age we don't have that. It becomes like, wow, I didn't get my happily ever after. But I feel like the idea of happily ever after, it is realistic into this world, because you can actually create your own happily ever after. You can actually I feel like it should be individualized. It should be based on, what do I think? What is the end goal? What do I want out for my life in the moment? Like, what am I looking forward to? What does that picture look like? Like, if you're thinking about, we're gonna go back to younger Felicia. So younger Felicia at the age of, what is it? At the age of 20, let's just say 20, because 19 was when I really started identifying myself with what it is I want when I have a family. So I would say 20, a younger Felicia at the age of 20, picturing and painting her own picture. So every day you wake up, I have this dream catcher, like a dream board, where I have, where do I want my life to be at a certain age, and things I want to be doing, and where I want to see me and my family. So let's say Felicia at the age of 20, of course I'm dreaming. I'm thinking about everything. Like, to me, everything is realistic. I can literally touch and see everything in that moment. So, you guys, I don't know what just happened to this. All right, now we're showing. Let's say I am dreaming. I know I'm literally gonna tell you guys my dream. What that I dreaming meaning, like, ideally, where do I see myself? I saw myself having a boy and a girl. That was something that I wrote down. I want a boy and a girl. I want to be married before they, even if I don't get married early, I want to be married before the age of 27. I want to have my marriage grow and mature up by the age of 29. I want to be able to have my first child by the age of 32. I want to have the second one and be done. And ideally, those were my plans, right? Those were my dream. So in my world, I'm living my happily ever after. So it doesn't have to be the quote unquote that the world actually envisioned for us, right? Instead of the world saying you're gonna have a fairy tale wedding, you have the flowy dress, you'll be in a kingdom, and somebody will be serving you, somebody working. Ideally, your husband will have all the money in the world, and you have maid and everybody taking care of you. But ideally, I feel like because of what movies and that's somebody dreams that they wrote into a script that they acted out. Ideally, that's what happily ever be, and you would have no problem. Your entire relationship will be problem free. But be realistic. As much as that sounds like a happily ever after, you can actually create your own happily after. That's why I feel like, and I do believe that ever after do exist into this world, because you have the power to create your own happily ever after. Like for me, I feel like I'm living my happily ever after because everything that 19 or 20-year-old Felicia had a vision about her life, even though I'm not quite there yet, but I had a dream about how I wanted my life to be. My prayer and my goals were, one, I'm gonna have a boy and a girl. I want to only have my children with one person. I want to have my relationship. I want to raise my kids certain ways. I want to be financially stable in certain area of my life. I want to live this type of life. I want to be able to get certain things. So I kind of like created my own thing, even though realistically in my mind, I know that if it didn't work, oh well, but at least I'm dreaming it. And I'm going to put the work into it to create my own happily ever after. So, Riva says Pro said at the time the term happily ever after was invented, there weren't a lot of relationship problem. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a storybook term. It's applicable into this world. Definitely. Right. I mean, some relationship might not be happily ever after, but like I said, I absolutely agree with you because we're all different individuals. We are raised differently. We have different set of values, and I feel like this is where a lot of people are not understanding. People minds are so fixated on what it is they want versus what reality is, and that's why in my opinion I feel like a lot of relationships are not really surviving because people have all these unrealistic expectation about quote unquote what a happily ever after is. A ever after could be termed in where I have my home, I'm able to be financially free, be able to pay my bill, I can eat on time, I can be able to lend a helping hand to someone. To me, in my world, even though that was a storybook term, but I feel like people actually envisionally to make it out of their reality that if I don't have a man that's tall, dark, and handsome, and he makes a lot of money where I don't have to do much, I only have to work because I want to. And then like realistically, as the world is going, as things are going forward and people are growing and understanding the different dynamic of life, it is very, very difficult for people to, now people are saying it was a myth, but ideally that was a storybook. It was just a story to give people something to hang on to. What a happily ever after could look like, instead of, and that's why I feel like as parents it's really, really important for you to kind of like install into your children to understand that even though somebody had this storybook and they wrote this happily ever after, and what it is you might need out of a relationship is also ideally is what you create. You can create your own story Instead of you thinking like, yeah, I can't find a man that's perfect. Yeah, you will never find a man that's perfect. You will never find a woman that's perfect. You will never have the most perfect home or the most perfect children. And there's always going to be things that will happen in between, which is part of life. And I feel like once people can actually come to a place where they're satisfied and feel content with what it is they have, then, in my opinion, you've created your happily ever after. But if you're chasing something that's in a storybook where you got to get a Prince Charming, what does your Prince Charming look like? Don't just look at what the storybook said what a Prince Charming looked like, right? And then take that as, yeah, my Prince Charming is this person. This is how I'm gonna go with it, and this is what he has to look like. And in my opinion, that's why there's a whole lot of single women that are just around. They're like looking for this thing that never existed. This was just somebody dream of what it is to want. It's kind of me saying, I want to be a doctor. We all know to be a doctor, I can't just get up and be like, yeah, I dream it. Yeah, it's going to happen. Right? I have to put work into it for me to be able to accomplish that. I need to go to school. I need to study. I need to make sure I acquire all of the certification and requirement that particular field need in order for me to practice, right? So if you want a happily ever after relationship, you have to create that. You have to look at what it is that you want for yourself. What does that look like? What will make you completely content with your life, even if the sky was falling? For me, like I said, my dream and goal, and as God could have it, I feel like I'm living my happily ever after because God actually answers those prayers. My dream was, and my prayer was, like I said, I wanted two children. I wanted a boy and a girl. And at some point of my life, I was like, even if it doesn't come in that order, it's fine. But I just want to have that set of children. And then my dream and goal was I needed a partner that we can work together as a team that would be helpful, be hands on with the kids, and we both can have that equal understanding and communication. And knock on wood, I feel like I have that. And then, there are so many things along the line. And, recently, my husband and I, yeah, just recently, about a week or two ago, we just had our anniversary, and we didn't really do much, but we were just sitting and just talking. It's like, wow, I can't believe we've come this far. When in the beginning it was so rocky, and in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna get my happily ever after, but that is part of the role. That is part of the happily ever after. We only saw what it was. We didn't really get to see in the storybook, like River says Pro says, right? In the storybook, we only saw the ending part where there was this lavish life and everybody was enjoying and things like that. But we did not see everything else that happened in between. And this is why I feel like we are so consumed with social media. We get to see what other people's lives are, what they're doing. We don't know. Maybe they really are having their happily ever after where they're posting it. People are traveling, they're living life and doing this. But we don't know what other things they're going through in order to actually have that happen. So that's why wherever you're at, um, don't feel like, even though it is a myth, in my opinion, I still do think it's realistic into this world because you can actually create your own happily ever after. It doesn't have to be what the storybook said. Um, like River Pro said, no relationship can be happily ever. I think it can be if both people remember we talk about constructive critic was it no strategic communication, right? We talk about that. I feel like once you really start to work on your strategic communication with your partner, and your children or your entire family, you can create your own happily ever after where now you don't have to be so stressed about a lot of things. You know that person has your back. You feel like you're not judged when you go to them to talk to them because they're actually thinking about the situation before they talk to you, right? So you can definitely create your happily ever after. I wanted to share something with you guys that I read, right? Let's see. Sorry, you guys. So, you guys, my note. So, on my note on my phone, I oh shoot, I didn't add the link in there. Let me add it. Sorry, Recess Bro. I am so sorry. You guys, I did not pin the link in the comment section. I am going to link it right now. All right, you guys. I hate to talk about the elephant in the room. So if you have not seen all the headline, the U.S. Election is actually going to be happening this November, and there was a breaking news that the president Joe Biden just dropped out of the race. That is a huge, huge deal, you guys. That is huge. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think this has ever happened before, you guys. I don't know. Maybe my American government class didn't really serve me any purpose, but I don't think that had ever happened. But I'm probably gonna come live tomorrow to talk about that. Hopefully, I can do that. Hey, Rebecca Pro, how are you?
Hey, I don't know why every time I use my laptop, yeah, let me every time I use my laptop it always come a double. I don't know why.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't see you double though. I only see you one time.
No, I mean like the when you speaking. So
Oh, okay.
let me go off and come back on my phone.
All right, all right. Okay. So you guys, as I was saying, while we wait for Reverse Pro to come in, um, yeah, that is a huge deal. I'm not really into the whole politics thing. I really try to stay in my lane because I don't really know much about politics. But I follow. I follow. I'm one of those people. I really do follow. I try to figure out. I don't have a party. I am an independent voter, and but I try. I'm always. I feel like I'm a wild card. So I want to be a wild card because I'm not committed to anybody. At any time, if somebody is the is any whoever is running, whatever their what is it called? Whatever their gender is, if it really does align with what I believe and what I think should happen, what the country is, um, then I vote for them. But I will say this is democracy, and I am really, really interested in seeing how things are going to play out. But let's go back to what I was about to share with you guys. Sorry, I forgot to add the link. So many moving pieces tonight. I know I had the show running for a little bit and I came on at 9 o'clock, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about the idea of happily ever. So it says So here are some of the things that I found online, and it said because people naturally will fight and they don't. Hey, welcome back.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a while, man.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Yeah.
I've been cooking and just eating since I don't come on this show. I just been
Uh,
cooking my tabagi rest.
I know that same thing. Well, when you finish cooking, when nobody there, you wash your dishes quick and come
Now
on.
I've been doing it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what's up, Fee?
Not much. I've been here just, taking it one day at a time. How about you? How's your family?
Yeah, family doing great.
That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Everybody just off today, so at least I had time to do some other things. Take my daughter places,
Nice.
and yeah, those children they just get you driving all over the place like crazy.
See, I'm not there yet. Right
Yeah.
now, if I say we ain't going anywhere, they don't have a choice.
Oh yeah, when you get to where I am right now, when you promise them, they don't forget.
I know.
Yep. But
That's good.
yeah, but fee yeah, it's it's a great topic. And
Thank
when I
you.
look at the happily ever thing, I got a problem with not problem, but I got like a little um kind of little counter to what you said about your own happily ever, right?
Right.
So you talk about having kids, marrying, getting a caring husband, but fee does that constitute on the overall to happily ever? Do those children bring you happiness overall? Does your husband bring you happiness overall? Aren't there other situations like financial difficulties, like a lot of things? I mean, just those little aspect of you had a wish list that you wanted, maybe a boy and a girl. Well, okay, say it came to pass, say it was fulfilled.
Yeah.
Does that constitute happily ever on the general scale? I don't think so. Fee. There are people who are asked for a tall, buff man, and maybe I don't know. I don't want to say whether God give it to them or not. I think God give it to them, but then they were still not happy. Fee. There were
Right.
yeah, there were people in homes who maybe the woman at some point she could not have kids, and she met another person and had kids, but then she still is not happy, Fee, because there are other underlying situations. There are other especially I like when you use I always use your word modern woman. Modern woman now they have transformed, they have moved the goalpost as far as marriage and relationship are concerned. Not just modern women, the modern most of the men too. So
Right.
the expectation now, the bar has been raised. So back then, when happily ever, maybe when our parents, our grandparents, great grandparents were coming up, see, there wasn't a lot of demand. So maybe that term happily ever, say the group up in the village, all the men had a routine. Like my great grandparent came from Riverside. My grandparents as
Mhm.
so all they had to do to make farm. Had children. It was like a routine. The man made farm. The man goes to hunt, so, they're worrying too much. They didn't have bills to say, oh, the electric bill coming and somebody turned the hot water on and, all that stuff. They didn't have to go through that. So maybe at some point or to some extent, I would say maybe they were living happily ever, probably. But in today's world, Fee, it's virtually impossible. I wouldn't point to what, I don't care if their partners fell from heaven. I wouldn't, I wouldn't point, I wouldn't put my finger in anything. Not a spoon of rest. I would bet that there is a relationship that is happily ever.
Really?
No, I don't.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Come on. So
Mhm.
so wait. So you don't think people can create their own happily ever after in today's world? So what if I'm content with just, you know, for me, let's just say, I know we never, as human being, we can never ever just be,
Mhm.
satisfied with
Yeah.
whatever it is that we have. But
Mhm.
let's say My only goal is because, and I'm gonna, after I say this, I'm gonna share something with you that I saw with
Mm-hmm.
someone, and it really, really changed my entire perspective. That's why I can be like, I think I'm tapping a little bit into my own happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like once people really identify what makes them happy and what makes them feel content with what they have,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, they can create their own happily ever after, right?
Yeah.
If they're not able to do that and they're still striving for more, that's where the happily ever after is. Or it might be momentarily, maybe not forever, right? Maybe the forever is just going too far,
Yep.
or they can be happy for a moment, but you're still happily ever after, in my opinion, doesn't have an ending. It's something that you continue to strive for, right?
Yeah.
So you strike a very important point where you're like, just having a kid is not happy. What if I was in a relationship that I felt so fulfilled, and I felt like this is it. He matched, I'm just gonna use the word that we modern women use, right? He matched my swag, you know, we we're vibing on the same level, we can talk, even though we have little bickering, little anger, but we can fix that structure. We can still live the life that we want to. We go out, we still look good on paper, everything, right?
Yeah.
But then I can have children with him, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's taking away from my happily ever after
Uh-huh.
that I envision, something that I feel like this is what it is. Oh no, you're gone. What happened? Come back. So if it's something that I envision and I want to see it, then I can create that happily ever after. So when we talk about it, I know right now the whole world talk about financial issues, which is something that River Says Pro just said. There might be some financial issue when you have the kids. Are you really happy because something else come up? I think sometimes just the idea of having the children create that peace of mind for you. And I feel like it's individualized. It depends on who's talking about happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it depends on who's looking at happily ever after. What does it look like to you? That's why I said people can create their own happily ever after. So we all know in this country, um, especially right now, the 21st century, right?
Mm-hmm.
A household income of just one person working, just making, I'm just going to throw a wild number out there, right?
Yeah.
40,000. Let's just say the average American making 40,000 a year. If you calculate, it depends where you're living. But let's say you're living somewhere like Washington State or New York or the DMV. Let's just put it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that 40,000, if a household, one person decide they're not working and the other person is only bringing in 40,000, we know that without them even telling you, ideally, you'd be like, wow, you guys are struggling because it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
After you take out your mortgage or your rent, whatever it is you have food. We all know how the pricing on food is and everything. Somebody would say there was a lady that they interviewed, right? I
Mm-hmm.
watched her video recently. There are families who's living like that, and she lives in Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
Could you ever imagine somebody living on that side of the country is only bringing in their household $40,000 a year, and
Wow.
they are happy and they're living, and she doesn't work? It's just her husband that's working, and she makes everything from scratch. She makes their clothes, she makes everything. But if you, in her mind, from her interview, she said she's living her stress-free life because she was working too. And fortunately for their relationship, if she went to work, she would make more money compared to her husband. As we all know, even though we say men make more money when you work with them, but the average black man, um, they don't reach the financial strat until they're around like 45 to 50-ish, you know? So if I'm a young lady and I'm like, I want a black man, which is basically all the single women, that's their that's their request, right? I
Uh-huh.
want a black man. I want him to be making 100,000. So I'm saying this because it's kind of like we are already creating um our own expectation, which will not lead her into happily ever after because we have expectation that doesn't align with what's really going on. So that's why I would say to that. It doesn't have to be the storybook, it's what you create. So in my situation, I say I'm living close to my happily ever after because ideally what I told myself would make me happy for the rest of my life was one, having a partner that I can work with. I had a relationship before where that was probably the relationship that I learned so much about. Um and in my mind I was like, yeah, if I couldn't have children in that relationship, and then my doctor told me that, in order for you to have kids, this is what's gonna it would take. I have already ruined my own happily ever after because my goal was to have my two children with somebody that work along with me. That was my own reality I was creating. But realistically, who knew if it was actually going to happen, right? It's only working towards it that I feel like I don't want to say working towards it because you can work towards it and it's still not happen. But I also think just believing in it and also putting in the work and also because I feel like I am a spiritual person and what I believe in, I feel like God already had it intended for me. And I was actually trying to identify myself with what it is I felt like my purpose were here, to do. So I started to pray and work towards it. But I would definitely say at some point of those dreams of things putting it together, I knew in the back of my mind that it may not happen. And I had already made peace with myself that if it didn't happen, does this change my happily ever after? Would I be okay with that? And I feel like a lot of people do not create those scenarios in their mind to be okay with it. Like a single woman in her 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looking for a man that makes certain amount of money, like do you ask yourself like, okay, if I don't get this person that I'm looking for, would I be okay with myself for the rest of my life to stay by myself? How does that look like if I'm creating this scenario that I think ideally is realistic, but we all know, as you age, the ratio is dropping. So what are you really creating? Are you okay? Are you satisfied with if you don't get what it is you want? Are you going to be okay? And I feel like if people can't create that, that's why the happily ever after doesn't happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. Feel like you kind of like you going off and on. I don't know that your sound.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
So my question to you, Fee, is
Hmm.
good to know. You talk about your spirituality. Which is great. Which is something that I kind of try to defeat my question a little bit, but I'll still go ahead with it. But yeah, but the thing is, Fee, I heard you talking about creating happiness. I
Right.
don't know. Yeah, it sounds so artificial to me. So
Really?
yeah, I'm sitting here and thinking that should happiness come naturally? It's like I watched this movie with this It's an old movie. You probably seen it with Coco. What her name? Coco Jones. Wait, what's the guy name? What's the what's that movie? Fee, you got to know it. Wait, oh, the guy who was married to Sashim. I don't even know his name. The one who was married to oh, he's a host right now.
Cool.
Oh,
Is it a Tyler Perry movie?
no, yeah, kind of like, but I think it's a BT movie where where the boy was trying to get, where the boy was trying to get popular, and what's the guy name? Mariah. He was married to Mariah Carey. What's the name?
Oh, Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon in our movie with our Coco Jones guy, where
I think I know the movie you're talking about. I can't think about the name.
yeah, where to get he got, he tried to get popular and thing, and the girl said something. She said something. She was the popular girl, so
I know the movie. I know the movie. I
yeah,
know the movie. I can't think about it, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and the girl made a statement in that movie. She said popularity is a work. It's hard to get in. It's hard to get out. So popularity and see, there are
Mhm.
people when I was coming out, there were people who were, let's look at the word charisma. People who were
Mhm.
charismatic. There were people who were that it just comes naturally to them. There were
Right.
guys that I sat in school with fee that didn't know anything. But those guys, they were just the ladies. For some reason, I was there busting my head so the girls can, like, doing their homework, doing it. But they had this one guy who would fold the comic book. And you can see they got, but for some reason, yeah, he was just the proper, he just caught the ladies' attention. And all that homework I was doing for them, you know, taking their quizzes, they're not writing their name on it. I'm taking breaks with them. At the end of
Right.
the day, they would just hang out with that guy. So because it just came naturally to them. So when you talk
Right.
about happiness, when you say create happiness, I'm sitting here and asking myself or asking you, should happiness be created? Should happiness come naturally? Should if you try to create, like the lady you talk about where she felt that
Mhm.
she's happy because there hasn't been a trigger. See,
Mhm.
like all these things you're talking, something triggers. Once there's a trigger, that's when you see the reality kick in. The person will say, "Oh, I ain't working. My husband, I'm a stay-home mom, and blah blah blah," but then when something happens, the
Mhm.
unforeseeable, the the one American man, the blind side one, the sucker punch when it hits you from the side that you're not thinking, then reality
Right.
kicks in. So to my mind, like I said, I know you talk about your spirit, you pray to God and he discerns, the spirit of discernment, and then certain thing comes your way because that's how you prayed about it. Now that's a whole different thing. But
Right.
ordinarily, look at somebody who is not spiritual, who is just living as a regular person. They're going through that and they say, "Oh, I'm creating happiness in my relationship." The fact that I feel you are creating a happiness, you putting in too much work and creating something, there are positive and negative effect to it. Yeah, look, see, I see people create a relation. People, look, people pick up. Look, I see men and women create. They stay together and make life and create wealth, right? And put together.
Right.
And I see it crumbling like the case toy. When you went back when we used to build a sand in the sand castle, and
The
somebody
Sandcastle. Yeah.
one of the bully just come and kick it down. That's
Yeah.
how. Yeah, I seen it. I seen people build life together, see, and it just crumble because maybe that relationship, maybe their happiness did not come naturally. Maybe it came because one person was financially was great, and maybe one person, somebody, the balance was not really there, but they fought hard. That's why you hear a lot of women, you see women always fight hard to keep the relationship together with women because they're trying hard to create a happiness in the home. That's how I feel though. When you say create, I'm a little bit kind of skeptical of the word when you say create. It sounds to me like you are trying hard to make it work. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's how I
Right.
understand the word create happiness. I think it should flow. It should be like a natural happiness to come naturally. Like you see, man. Oh yeah, for better or for worse, which is another term I got problem with, but that's a whole different thing. But
Right.
yeah, all
Me
those,
too. I do have problem with that word.
you know. So yeah, that's just my own thing about this creating you're talking about, Philip. I don't
So
know.
So when I say create happiness, right? And I agree with you. You can't just wake up and just snap and say, "Oh, I'm happy," right?
Yeah.
There are steps that you have to take, and I feel like it takes an individual to really examine their own life to really understand who they are and to see that's I think that's where I'm coming from saying create your own happiness, right?
Okay.
Because we see a lot of time most people say he doesn't make me happy, she doesn't make me happy, nobody's going to make you happy. You are supposed to make yourself happy. And I feel like happiness comes from a place where you actually know who you are and you're satisfied with who you are. No matter what anybody says, you are comfortable with yourself. Like, for instance, women, I'm going to use women a lot as an example, right?
Yeah.
Because women, we go through childbirth, and we don't understand that when you reach that side of life, there's a whole lot of hormones, there's a lot of genetic changes that go through your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've created so many, you've created children. Your body is never ever going to be the same. But there are steps that you can take to maintain certain type of things that were in your life. But because people ideally have this, well, you should love me because I had a child for you. However I am, take me as I am, right? But deep down, you're not happy and you hear this word all the time. My man loved me how I am. But do you love yourself how you are? Like that is the key. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. Like, is he just telling you to feel okay with yourself? Or deep down within yourself, do you even feel comfortable with yourself? Like, if you're comfortable with yourself and the person you're with, it's okay with that, then you've created your own happiness. That's what I'm coming from when I say create your own happiness, because you'll hear women saying that, I had children, yeah, I'm on a little bigger side, my husband's fine with it. And I look at it and I'm like, no, that is not okay. Are you okay with it? Because my husband told me that myself. And he's like, I mean, you have children, you're okay, everything's fine. But it's like, and I had to sit him down to really let him know I am not doing anything because of you. I'm doing it to feel like I am satisfied with myself. Because if I'm satisfied with myself, I can be that individual for you. Because then a lot of things won't be going through my mind thinking like, okay, are you looking at women that don't look like me? Are you looking at somebody else? That's why I feel like the insecurities start to come in and people start to think about other things. But when you sit and really evaluate yourself and look at yourself and say, okay, this is Felicia, the person that she has become. I am okay with her. I am fine with her. And whatever it is happening, I'm happy genuinely who I am. So no matter what anybody says, as much as might be a plus to who I am, like it really doesn't matter. Even though I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I just tell my husband, I'm like, whatever you say, even though I'm fine with it, but it really doesn't matter if I in myself don't feel like who I am, I'm happy with who I am. Because one, you also have to take into consideration men are attracted to what they're attractive to, right? And your job as a woman is to maintain that attraction. And I feel like when people don't understand who they are and I'm gonna go back to this whole create their own happiness, right? So there are activities you do to kind of like influence to increase your happiness. Maybe that's the word I should use, right? There are things you do to increase your happiness, but you're not only going to be happy if you don't create that environment for yourself to feel like, okay, this is who I am and this is where I'm going to be. Because then you'll find yourself comparing yourself with other people, and then you're going to be unhappy. And it's a very tough, and that's where the happily ever after to me get ruined, because somebody feels like they're not happy and their happiness depends on the other person. And then if that person's trying to figure out their happiness and they can't give it to you in that moment, then now what happened? The relationship start to have problems, right? Because you haven't created that environment for yourself to be okay with yourself. That's where I'm coming from when I say you
So
create your own happiness.
so you just remind me,
Mhm.
I don't usually sing when I'm on live, but you remind me about this Whitney Houston song where she said, I put myself aside to do things your way. Now I want to do it on my own. She said, I'm not afraid
Right.
to. So all along,
Mhm.
Whitney Houston said that she always put herself aside just to
Yeah.
do things the God way to
Yeah.
satisfy him. But now
Yes.
she wants to do it on her own, and she's
Yeah.
not afraid to try. So
Right.
and see, there are a lot of women. That song, I'm a guy, but that's one of my song. I used to listen to that song, and my wife love it too. She listened to it, because unfortunately it was one of the songs she made before she died. So, but
Yeah.
the word in the song, and this also goes to men too, Fee. It goes
Right.
to, there are people who put themselves aside.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
like you said, maybe your husband told you, you said, oh, come on, babe. Even though you said, oh, I got this, I'm happy. There are women feel who you see out there, they don't, they're taking care of the children. You see, sorry to say,
Yeah.
but they don't even, they don't have time to go do their nails. They totally, you know, they take that,
Neglect themselves.
yeah, neglect and say, take that brand that are being given to them by their husband. Oh, you're taking care of the children, and things all right. You financially stable, you got car, everything. So they just forget because they put themselves aside, and that's one of those things when we talk about when we talk about our happily ever. Then when you see those kind of people, like when you go visiting, that's why, hey, I don't like too many. There are a few friends my wife got. Somebody I don't know for some reason I just don't like their tone. Yeah, you know how they be coming. Oh, my man, me and my man going to Dubai, and I'm saying, and then they making me look like, hey. And then I'm not thinking that. Hey, where my wife taking you? Yeah, they're going to Dubai. Where we going?
I
So
know, right?
I don't like those kind of friends, seriously. And there is one that always coming up with all kinds of fly,
Plan.
yeah, things. So but, but when you look at that, and you and myself feel when we see the kind of situation, we like, oh, look at that woman. She got a Lexus, and she got, she
Right.
home, she a stay-home mom. The man is giving her everything, but then we think she living a happy life on the,
Right.
yeah, on the outside, outwardly, on the outside surface. We looking at her like, ooh, and you like, oh, man, I wish I was like her,
I
husband,
know, right?
husband. But then deep down, deep down, you know, it's probably, it even goes to a lot of things when it comes to sexual, their sex life. There are women who, I mean, we see it all the time. They get money and the men get that money, everything they want. But a lot of
Oh
times,
no, my internet's acting up.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
back now. You guys can see me,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I can see you. So when you look at them, but in their sex life, it's not okay because maybe the man come maybe for some reason, they're not. But then what they do, like in the book of Jesus, it say, "Well, I feel the countenance of my character upon myself." Like they hide it within themselves. Like
Mhm.
the 4 hour thing, they got everything, but they don't sleep with a man. They don't nothing romantic and other thing. But when you see them too, because of the material, because this war is all about material right now. Everybody
Of
see
course.
they got car on here or driveway. She got, they got a lot of things going for them. You're like, ooh, look at them. Those are the happily
Mhm.
ever couple I
They're
want to
living
be
the
with.
life, right?
Exactly, they're living their life. But when you start living in a home and then you start noticing, then you find out the whole story. So with a happily ever, yeah, you're right. Fee. It is, it is our the more I think it is our it is obligated upon us to create happiness, where we can't live with the fact that because it doesn't exist, so we cannot, we cannot create one. So yes, it's good that we create it. But my question to you is, Fee,
Mhm.
how do you balance creating such happiness? Say if you and your partners, right? Say if
Mhm.
you guys are not on the same page. He's not necessarily a bad guy, right? But
Right.
he doesn't really want what you want. So, but he thinks that based on his own calculation, or based on his own maybe requirement, he thinks you are well to do. See, he thinks, well, you got, he goes and tell his friend, oh, my wife got everything, blah, blah, blah. But how do you create happiness when your man is not on the same page with you? When your happiness isn't his happiness? See, how do you balance it? You know, how do you balance that sense of communication, that understanding? How do you balance it?
So I think this really goes back to our conversation yesterday, right?
Hmm.
Strategic communication, right?
Yeah.
So as we all know, as you stay along together, people start to find their own identity, especially when you're very young
Hmm.
with your partner. And as you get older, you hear this a lot. People say we grew apart, right?
Hmm.
But realistically, you should be growing together, not apart, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very tough thing because if you're already in your relationship, you're hoping that you should grow together, but we all know. And I feel like my relationship got that test as well, right? When we first have our children, right? As women, we
Yeah.
forget about our partner because we're solely focused on this new being that's in the home and we want to nurture them. We want to, create all the scenarios to make their life okay. And you forget about your relationship. And then sometimes you're not on the same page, sometimes you are. I feel like communicating is absolutely the key to really coming back to each other because if you don't communicate properly, you will continue to grow apart. For instance, observing, like we said yesterday, like watching your partner over time, trying to figure out who they are, how do you communicate with them, what's their communication style, do they like a more calmer, or when you cook for them, are they there, like maybe during dinner time is easier, or maybe just when you guys are relaxing on the couch and watching something, maybe during his favorite, African men like soccer. Maybe when they're watching soccer, after that soccer game, they won the game, he's in a very happy mood. This is when you can kind of like approach and coming in without a judgment zoom, like don't judge. Try to be empathetic. Try to understand, like where they're coming from and don't pre-game to be like, this is how I'm going to respond if you come back. In my opinion, I would say prepare yourself for the worst answer. If let's just say I'm asking a question that I want a yes to, right? Is if he's gonna tell me no, am I prepared to accept it? And I think that's what happened to a lot of people. We're not prepared to accept the negative answer. And then once we get the answer we don't want to hear, that's when we're like ready to lash out. But to answer your question, how do you communicate that? For me, I would say like just knowing who your partner is. People don't invest time to really know people. And you're not gonna 100% know people, but you're going to come close to knowing who that individual is. If you take the time, people's favorite conversation is about themselves, you know. If you take the time to really get to understand people and let them tell you who they are, let them, you
let
know,
me let, let me
uh-huh,
yeah, quickly, Fia, you continue. That's a great answer. But let me just throw it in real quick. Why
mhm,
why you flowing along? Okay,
mhm.
is it in the infancy stage of a relationship before or after? I mean, before, let's say at the early stage when you meet this man, or when you already settled, that's when you talk about that. And then number two, what if you like this guy, that's your Prince Charming, and now you kind of a little bit afraid, like, what if I come and start to come up with all these, little thing? What if he doesn't like it? Why if I come up with this communicating, and he think I'm kind of a straight church girl, or I'm like one of those kind of like hardline
Right.
girl, and then he becomes to kind of withdraw from you, and then that fear creep in. What if that, yeah, how do you navigate that too? The fact that you're young, maybe like you said, 20 something, and you get in a relationship, but now you're afraid that you don't want to go too hard so he don't run away from you, because the guy, I mean, he's buff, 6'5", a lot of girls waiting in line for him. You don't want to lose him. So now you afraid. You don't want to come. So how do you navigate that? And then say you get in the middle now. Okay, you already in a relationship. Then you feel coming up with a communication. Man, look at you like, what? We already got two children. I mean, what? You, what are you talking about? We already been together. So why you want me to change now from who I am? How do you navigate those kind of situations?
Great, 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 great question and great answer right there. So ideally, all these things should happen at the preliminary level of your relationship, which I feel like we all get our feelings involved and we all like, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. But ideally, you want to really have that rich conversation. Yeah, I listened to a gentleman today on TED Talk, right, this afternoon, and he said something about we as human beings, we've been programmed, to get what we want, to think that relationship is all about love. And it's not about love. When you're young, yeah, enjoy while it lasts. It's about love. But when you're at that mature stage where you're really trying to understand and try to find yourself to see how do I fit into this whole thing called relationship? What is the purpose for it, right? Once you start to understand that, then it helps you to really know that why are you even getting into this relationship, right? Once you know why you want to be in the relationship, let's just say for the purpose of you want to have a home, you want to have your family, let's say these are my kids and my kids grow and it's like I want to have relationship like my mom and dad, right? That's what most people say. I want to have relationship like my mom and dad. They stay together, they have kids, and they live a very average life and they were okay. If I have something close to that, that's fine, right? If
Yeah.
that is the goal that you're going for, then you shouldn't be worried about losing that person, right? Because at the end of the day, this is the person you're telling yourself you're spending the rest of your life with. Rest of your life. Just let that sink in. Like, this is the rest of my natural life on this earth. So I need all of my questions answers. I remember when me and my husband started talking, he was like, dang it, is that interview? Jesus, they guy can ask questions. But my question to him was that I'm not just dating to date. Like I'm dating with purpose. I am not. If that's what you just want us to date and hang out, that's fine. We can date and hang out, and then in the next few months, trust me, I'm gonna block you. That's what I said. Yeah, that's how I am. We will talk. If I'm bored, I'll text you. Hey, how are you? How's life going? If that's the stage you want, then we can flow that way until I find someone. Then I'm gonna block you. I'm very straight up. That's what I used to tell him. So That is my preface. But other than that, if you really want to have a rich, like an enriched relationship where we communicate, we talk about things, and yeah, we had our moment where we didn't agree with some things and disagree. It was two lives joining together, so it was really tough. But I needed my question answers to feel like I needed to feel comfortable, to feel like, yeah, you got my back and I got your back. And now this is where we're at. But in my opinion, a lot of people get clouded with what is on the outside. Oh, he has six packs. Okay, he's popular. Okay, we look great on paper. I had that relationship, that type of relationship. I was in that before I met my husband. And that was what, together when we go places, yeah, we look cute. Everybody's like, wow, you guys look beautiful together. But on the inside, there was so much going on that was so damaged that you couldn't just pretend anymore and you had to talk about it. And that's where a lot of people are at. They don't want to, say those hard things because they're afraid of losing the person. If you're afraid of losing someone, that person is not for you. Like, that person is not for you, because to me, in my opinion, if somebody's for you, they're willing to understand why you even asking these questions, right? What it is making you uncomfortable. Why do you want to know this? What about me is making you ask these questions that you don't feel comfortable with? Let's get to the bottom of it. And then they are willing to have that communication dialogue with you. But if they're not willing to do that, in my opinion, you're creating your own disaster after, because everything going forward started from the beginning stage. And if you keep sweeping it under the rug, it's gonna still stay under the rug, and eventually it's gonna come back out of the rug. Because let's just say you put a fish hair under the rug, right?
Mhm.
That fish gonna get rationed. Even though the first day you put it there, you're not gonna smell it. Next day you come, you start smelling something a little bit. The
Mhm.
more it stays there, you can't bear it anymore and it's gonna come out. So eventually, to me, at the beginning stage, I would say to any young lady that's watching or anything, like, be yourself. Ask those questions. If you really know this is the person, you're like, yeah, this is the person, I prayed about it. This is who I want to be with. But then you should also be in your mind, understand that if this doesn't go with what align with who I am, I don't want to compromise myself. Am I willing to let it go? Like, I feel like you should make peace with that with yourself first before you even have that conversation. Okay, I met this guy. We both go to the same school. We're on the same team. Like, he's a great guy, conversation wise. We can talk and things like that. But now the relationship is changing and we're starting to be serious. I want to know more about his family. I want to know more about who he is. And now you feel like if at any point in your mind you feel like you got to hold back, you're not creating your happily ever after. And the idea is, in my mind, just to point back to this topic, is for you to create your own happily ever after. It is ideally, it's realistic. Is it a mythical statement? Yes. But ideally, in my opinion, you can create your own. And how do you create that? By being completely honest with who you are. And then also, are you willing to accept that person for who they say they are? So you're asking this person, they don't want to be pretending. They're telling you, this is who I am. I am a drunk. I remember something my mom used to say. She used to say, if y'all get married to a man that smoke and drink, that's who you will stay with. I am not the one who will be smelling it. So I hope you know what you're doing. So, if he is someone, this is who he is, and he's telling you, this is who I am, take me as I am. Or have you make peace with yourself to say, this is happily ever after? Am I willing to live with this forever? Well, and let's just say, like what you said, right? Y'all live together, you have two children. I want to say you don't just get two children with somebody just overnight, right? But who knows? It's happening these days.
Yeah.
Right? So if there's this saying, people say, "Oh, it was a mistake. We had the first one." I don't believe in those things. I don't believe in mistake, like we made a mistake and had a child. No. You consciously knew what you were doing and what the end result will be, but you you deny it. You were like, I don't care, whatever happened happens, right? We consciously make those decisions, and now you've made that decision. This is the person you've decided to have children with. Newsflash, having children with somebody that is the most committed your relationship will ever be in your entire life. So if you're going to make that decision now, are you okay with if this person is coming to you saying, "This is who I am. I drink, I smoke," and I'm just using this as an example, right? I drink, I smoke, I like to go out, I like to hang out with other women. This is who I am. Who are you to blame? I blame myself because I didn't take the extra steps to make that decision. I was going with the outside of what it is, and now I got it. And this is the person I'm faced with. Yeah, individually, you can decide to say, "Nope, that's not what I want. I'm leaving." But you still have to deal with this person for the rest of your life because you have children with them. So for me, I would say you can start having conversation with the person. Are they willing to change? Are they just saying, "This is who I am. I'm not changing. This is it. You can't do anything about it." If this person is saying, "This is who I was. You met me this way. This is who I am. I don't mind changing, but I'm not ready."
Yeah.
So you better get on your knees and start praying.
That's a difficult one.
Right, So that's why, in order for you to create your own scenario, for me, the advice that I would give to young ladies is that be intentional. You know, don't just make decisions. Because you're making decisions. So I'll give you guys a quick example, then Anna can come in. Right? I had a really new team. Right? I was the new manager there. I walk in, and everybody looked at me like, "Who is this short little girl?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Who is this short girl coming to tell us what it is?" And my first thing I told to them, I tell them, I said, "Hey, this is your house. I am a guest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm observing. But three things I want you to know about me. I don't say things I don't mean, and I don't do things I don't mean. Everything I say to you is calculated. I'm very calculated. I don't put my phone right here just because I'm putting it there. I've already thought about why I'm putting my phone there because it's convenient for me. So I'm gonna put it there. I know what's gonna happen. So if I'm coming to talk to an individual, I'm already pre-planned what it is I'm talking to you, because the reason I say this is because the staff over there, I was warned by the director that there are people that manipulate the situation to gain favor, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I already have this back end. So I'm telling them I'm very calculated. So I feel like when you're in your relationship and you're trying to get to this conversation and talk about it, is tell people who you are. This is who I am. This is what I do. And I don't do this except this, X, Y, and Z. Are you willing to accept me? Okay. How about you? Who are you? Like I feel like once people start to figure out who you are, and then they're able to kind of like feel comfortable in a way. Some people might be like, "Oh, I'm scared, I'm not going to tell her anything," or this is going to be like, "Yeah, it's easy to talk to her based on who she says she is," you know but I said so much. Let me let you
Do you,
guys talk.
do you believe that people can be themselves based on, they can be a different person based on who they're with? Stuff like
Yes, I agree. Yes,
that.
yes, absolutely.
So, because you mentioned something which I thought was very interesting, when you meet someone, you have to tell them who you are and things like that. But sometimes you could be, you could have a side of you that you never knew because of the kind of people you're around.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, I just wanted to stress that people can be different based off of who they're with. And just like we're talking about happily ever after, you mentioned something about being transparent about what you want, being purposeful as far as what you want from that relationship.
Right.
I think that's very important. But also, if you find yourself doing things that cause you to be negative, that
Mhm.
person is not your happily ever after.
Right. I have a quick question.
No, no, please.
So you said that people can be basically you're saying their environment kind of affect them, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
your environment and also the person. Like you can meet a guy that you guys get along so well, your energy is so great together. But at some point you start realizing that that person is changing because maybe you guys' personalities or you guys staying together is not wasn't what you guys expected when you guys were dating or when you guys were not staying together.
Mm.
Let me see if I can flip my phone around. On my phone, trying to flip this phone around. But hey, Anna, hello.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she muted herself.
So yeah, what's up? It sounds like a fatal attraction. They got those documentary
Right, that's what
about
I'm just sitting here thinking.
women.
Like, if I'm gonna switch up,
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
people don't. So I think maybe I'm not coming off correctly. People
okay,
don't
that's what I was
switch up,
thinking.
right? People don't switch up. When you meet people, do you agree that when you stay with someone, there's a lot of things that you tend to realize that, man, these are some things that I wasn't sure about when we're dating. Even if you come there and spend the weekends and stuff, not that the person was hiding, but there are some things that the people will do unconsciously that affect you as a person.
I agree,
Yeah,
but
sure.
then it's kind of like what they're pretending.
No, they're not pretending. Okay, let's say for example, when you go to, let's say you're dating a guy, every time you go to his house is so clean, right?
They're
Then when you
pretending.
stay, no, I'm not. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Let's say their house is clean, and then you guys stay together. Their house is still, you guys' house is still clean. The person still cleans, but the person constantly forgets to lift something like the toilet seat up, right? Those are things that get on your nerves as a lady, but like you constantly bringing it to his attention will annoy him eventually, right?
Yeah.
So, and would you say you guys are not living a happily ever after because you guys are always fighting over a toilet seat?
No.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I would say it depends on like rating. So depend. I think it depends on how important that is to you, right? Because for me, if it's something that's that important that I feel like we need to talk about it, then I will come up with a way how we can talk about it. But it's something where it's just like, man, I just forgot. Also, I feel like that example, it depends to how the person respond to you. Because if I politely ask you and say, hey, can you just try your best? If you pull the toilet seat up, can you put it back down? Versus me coming and saying, every time you use the bathroom, you put the toilet seat on, you never put it down. Jesus Christ, and then I start calling you out of your name. Do you think that person will want to actually fix that situation? I don't think
I
so.
mean,
Yeah, you're right. But
so
at some point, it's gonna get annoying, and even
Of
if you
course.
say it so nicely, it's someone's
I
character.
mean, sorry,
So
sorry.
I will tell you that was one of the problems that I had, right? So my husband, he is a man who lived by himself for a long time. So he was in his place by himself. He know he can leave his toilet seat or whatsoever. And I don't think back home they really had that problem about lifting a toilet seat and all that. I don't think so. Maybe I didn't really grow up back home, but I don't know. But that's something that's not really installing here. I think in the Western world we're more like all into that, where we have all this. And River says, "Pro, correct me if I'm wrong." Where the toilet seat has to be up. I don't remember this being an issue back home, you know. But here, I feel like he and I always used to go back and forth, especially one morning when I woke up, sleep in my eye, went to go use the bathroom. Girl, I saw in that water. I was mad, man. Sleep caught out of my eye. You know when I sleep in your eye, you just walk in to just get a pee and run by in the bathroom, in the room. And I went and sat down and I was sitting in a puddle of water. Trust me, the rest of that night was not happy night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand. But that's something a lot of men are not conscious about. Like little things can upset a woman. Actually, clean
Right.
But
this
But I will tell
today.
you, as of recent, we haven't really had that. But in that moment, even though I'm mad, I'm talking, he's not paying attention to me. He doesn't care. He laying there snoring and sleeping. So now I was so mad throughout the whole day. Even when we call each other to check in, I'm just like, bye. Because that was still on my mind and I was so upset about it. But then I had to think to myself, well, I expect him to have the seat down. What if he left the seat down and peed all on the seat, right? Even though I want him to do that, maybe my communication style, I need to change that a little bit, how I do it. And I feel like since we had our one-on-one conversation, I feel like he's more conscious about it now. Like when he used it, even when he forget it, like, let me go put that seat back down. Yeah, before the woman, yeah.
so,
Like he's more conscious about it now. But me being hot and heavy and being like, that didn't work for a good 4 years of our It did
so,
not
so,
work out.
Sophia, I wanted to go back to the point that you made concerning
Mhm.
the conversation should start when you talk about the strategic communication. When I asked the question about when this conversation should start, and you said going back to the preliminary stage, so I got a little kind of like a problem with it, right? So,
Okay.
and you also talk about people having two children, and that's kind of like deliberate. But then, you know, yeah, I got a problem with that too because let's, I mean, say you in your 20, right? 20
Mhm.
fresh out of high school. Now, I'm pretty tell me, Fee and Anna, how many 20 years old, 18 years old girl going in a first relationship ever know coming set a man down to 10? 'Cause you got to be mature. And look, I can tell you maybe three out of every 10. I wouldn't say even three too much. Like maybe
Right.
one or two out of every 10 women were really at that age. You got first boyfriend to say you come and set him down to tell him your expectation and things like he's 18 to or 19, your high school sweetheart. You looking
I
at
know.
I'm talking about going to college. What you talking about? Something like that. So and then yeah, so and
I
then
know.
yeah, when you look at the case, statistically, most of those women, yeah, I see women got one or two kids at that age. That's when they feel they made a mistake. That's
Mhm.
that stage between that from teenage going to 18, 19. That's that stage of where a lot of we in the minority community, that's where a
Right.
lot of those girls make mistake. You will see a lot of women will say, oh, I had my daughter when I was like 16. I think you see that all the time, you guys
Yeah,
who
I do.
yeah, 16, 17, because that was the age that they were not conscious of things, so they kind of like thing. That's why you find out that women, late 30s, 40, they are more conscientized. They will tell the children, I don't want you to make that same mistake that I made before because at your age, that's why I had you. So I think it's more like when you in that age, between 35, 40, up, that's when you think you can be able to like because you assume unless you're not one of those that bring women out there that sorry to say 50-year but they got 18-year-old 19-year-old boys, I mean I ain't got no problem with it, but so when you got a man that you're around the same age, like he will understand what you're talking about. He will understand. But
Right.
you got an 18, 19-year-old boy that you think he goes to the gym and you like 40 something, that boy is not, he's not ready to. First of all, he sees you as a, how they call it, sugar mama. He doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't see the life with you like you, like somebody within your age will see it. So it, to me, it will make communication difficult.
It
So
does.
yeah, so with that, without happily ever coming back to it, that's
Mhm.
what makes it more complicated for you because it can, like I said, at the early age, you want to get it right. You want to get it right, but that's when things go wrong for a lot of minority. Then in that age, as an adult now, that's when you really like, what? I have reached this stage. It's time to settle down. I went through all these difficult lives. I had children out of marriage, maybe, but this is time that I want to, you try to tell the man, this is the time, this is when this is when, like you said, Fee, this is when you want to create your happiness. Because the happiness,
Right.
yeah, it could have not been created when you were 18, 19, 20 years old. That's when thing chakla in my labyrinth voice. So when you reach when you reach that stage, that's when you feel, and like you said, understanding is important, communication is important. So that's when you talk to the man, that man to understand, like, oh yeah, I understand fee pass. She went through a lot of rough situation when she was coming up, and now it is time. He empathizes, like the word he empathizes with you, and he's like, yeah, maybe he is saying, maybe he went through the thing, maybe he had few child, or maybe coming out young, pregnant or somebody,
Right.
but both of you reached at that stage, and you like, what? This is when we need our happily ever moment. We need to create a honey so we can have the rest of our life at this age now. We can grow old together, so we don't be that thick, running all around the place, making noise and everything. That's when people want to create, but we create. But to the point again, when you say at the preliminary stage, fee, I disagree because at the preliminary stage, I mean, like I say, age matter too. But if you're talking about at a younger age, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bring down my own black people, minority people, but like the white people, I noticed, and I think we talked about it the last time you came in.
Yeah.
You gave a great reason. You went to school with a lot of white, and you see the difference between, the white children. A lot of them, they got a high school sweetheart, they go on and marry. I've seen it a lot in my church. They got a whole bunch of them. Sorry for calling
Yeah.
them white, but they got a whole lot of them there. They are people who went to, and you were here and talking about a teacher that I went to school with, and I'm saying that, oh wow, because it's not something I'm used to, fee, but
Right.
yeah, the guy, this older man, he and his wife, in Bible study, both of them always on page. Oh, when we went back when we were in Brookfield Lutheran High School, and I'm like, and I'm so proud of them. They just celebrated their fifth year wedding anniversary. You know,
Yeah.
in the white community, it's prevalent that it happened, but for some reason in the minority community, feel it that is at that age that things go wrong. So I think that's another thing to where most of our black people that happily ever just end when it starts for them. That's just what.
Right. Remember, and you're absolutely right. I agree with you. You're absolutely right because at that young age, like you're not really gonna. Very few people like know exactly what they want. But
Mhm.
I think the problem, honestly, and I know a lot of people probably gonna try to cancel me for this, but I'm ready for it. Um, in our black community, the problem is, in my opinion, is that we we are programmed to have a backup plan,
Mhm.
right? We are
Mhm.
programmed to have a backup plan. What do I mean is because let's say I went to a school where I feel like there are it's happening. There are black women and black boys and girls. They do have those high school sweetheart moments.
Mhm.
But this is what end up happening, right?
Mhm.
Once you graduate, you'll see them break up because mom is telling them, no, no boy, you can't. You have to make sure you get your education. No
Mhm.
boys. Those relationships are not nurtured,
Okay.
which we're supposed to be like. I hate to say this because people will be like, oh, why would you, parents will say you can raise the children, you don't raise their heart. yeah, I get that, but there are some part we parents play as well, right?
Yep.
So if we're nurturing those relationships when we're guiding them in the right way, then it's easier. I will tell you something. In my growing up, I knew that sex was a topic that was never to be discussed. It was just you can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even feel comfortable talking about it. But I had a mentor who was this white lady, and I feel like everything about abstinence I learned from her because she was able to sit down and talk to me and said she was very bold. I remember this conversation like yesterday. She's like, Felicia, you're a very smart girl. I know you probably know this, but let me ask you a question. Are you sexually active? And I was like, what? Why is she asking me this? But I saw her like a mother, and she was very mothering to me. So I told her, I was like, no, of course, you know, I was
Yeah.
like, no, because in my mind I'm thinking like, did my parents just ask you to ask me this question so they can find out, what's going on with me, you know? But then I'm like, no. She's like, why do you answer like that? I said, because I'm not allowed to. She's like, so you're not doing it because you're not allowed to, or you're not doing it because you feel like you're not supposed to. And I didn't really understand that. I was an 18-year-old and I didn't get that. I was like, huh? What are you talking about? Like, she started to explain to me, she's like, being intimate with someone is a responsibility. Do you know what is the purpose for that? I said, no. She's like, if you do that, the purpose of being intimate with someone is like you're rejoining to each with each other. And the possibility of that is procreating, having children. Do you want to have children right now? I said, no. I wanna go to college and I wanna be able to build a life before I can even have kids.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if in our community we encourage those conversations, it will really help a lot to build that happily ever after. I feel like since segregation time happened, that's when this whole topic about sexuality became like taboo. Because if you really look back in the black community in the US, it was a very close net. Like there was a really good sense of community where even if the neighbor saw you, like, isn't that Mary's daughter? What's she doing over there? Come here, guys. Let's talk to them. There was that community that could really, like talk to you and encourage you. But now it feels like there's not that community. And even though there's a lot of single moms, the single moms are not incorporating their brothers, the uncles, to be able to, kind of like give those advice because one person cannot help in that situation. But just to go to the whole explanation about, the white community, you see them, they have something to talk about. They have something to actually remember each other about. They have something to kind of look back on and be like, yeah. So even if they have problems, right? If they have problems, that's something that they both share together. We as human beings, we're always looking for com I can't even say that word, mama. We want to be identified with something. And if we can't be identified with something, it's like, why am I even here? But I remember going to college, there was a lot of, black girls like me. They had really good relationships and smart girls. But then when they're about to graduate, they broke up. And you're asking them, why are you breaking up? Oh, I need to be able to focus on school. Well, how come the other people can focus on school and still maintain some type of relationship and have boundaries? Because someone is actually guiding them through that, you know? Someone is taking that responsibility and say, hey, it's human nature. You're still going to want to be with a guy or you are still going to want a girl. Why, who am I to come and stop that? Instead of me stopping it, let me be a part of it and nurture it and try to guide you on the right path so that way later on you actually see why you need it. But us in our black community, we programmed our girls to be like, you want to go to school, you need to focus on it, and you don't need no boy distracting you. What
But
makes you think?
but
Uh-huh.
so Anna, stay there.
She's here.
Okay, so the and both for you that there's a question. Good.
Mhm.
So, what's the possibility of? Let's look at the chances of a happily ever, if there is any.
Right.
Yeah, as the
Remember, you create your own.
yeah, you create your own. So, what is the chances of success in creating happily ever in on our continent, Africa, versus in the United States? With the United States, with all these material resources, a woman got a job, she can work if she wants to, and think, in Africa, you know, I mean, the situation. Half of the women that don't have job, even some of the men hustling. So if you were to, but yet it's still this my thing though. My great grandparent, like my mother and my father, even though there was stuff going on, but my father died, but he stayed with my mother, and my mother is old now. I don't whether I wouldn't say it was happy ever, but at least they created some that they last together, and there are
In
many.
their opinion, it was.
Yeah,
Remember.
it was for, I mean, for growing up. I know there were problems, but for yeah, you're right. It created, and there are other relationships when I was growing up on the old road, and even in the people from the village and thing, they stay together and so what are the chances now of creating a happy? What are the chances of a successful happily ever if we try creating one in the United States as compared to Liberia? And what do you think would be the obstacle to either the ones being created here or the one or what would really be in the way of creating any? I mean, on both continents.
So, if I was to answer, I don't know if Anna is there. Um, Again, I go back to being realistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
Okay. So, let's just say I'm gonna put Felicia in Liberia,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
With the situation on hand.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, where I feel like probably I'm just gonna be generous. 75% of the people
Mm-hmm.
believe that getting out of Liberia will give them happily ever after.
Mm-hmm.
you know, because they're gonna get a job and stuff like that, right?
Rich
But
man.
let's say the
Rich man.
25%, let's say Felicia is
Mm-hmm.
part of the 25% who believe even if I'm here, anywhere I'm at, I will still create my own happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting myself in that 25%. So now, based on what I am able to do, I will start to put in my mind for the rest of my life, I know that there is absolute zero chance of me leaving Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I am. This is probably where I will be buried. So, guess what? I need to create my own happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So, I need to be realistic about the resources and things that I have to create that. One, I'm going to give an example. Let's say I have a land and my parents left it with me. It's a way I can actually plant and stuff. So again, I have to be realistic. I can't be dreaming for, making millions of dollars and I know that wherever I'm at, I can't do that.
Yep.
And I feel like that's where a lot of people like make that mistake. Like work with the little that you have and be content with it. Like be okay with having just the little. Even you might not have it all in the world, but just being able to have that little land, have your little house, you can sell your little market, buy
Yep.
food for your family. This is Felicia now in that 25%. I
Yep.
can make my little market. I can buy food for my children. I can do this. I can do that. And we can all eat and be happy. Sorry, I'm so sorry. My people went out to party. They just came back.
Yeah,
That's fine. Can I give my input before my thoughts? I forget.
yeah, yeah.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Well,
so I believe that you can make your happily ever after anywhere that you are. It
mhm,
doesn't matter how much money you have to be with your happily ever or your person. I believe that even in Africa or in Liberia or wherever
mhm,
that a person is, they can still be with that person. It's about you making sure that you're managing what you have. As long as you have your peace of mind, you're happy. That's all that matters. You can still not have a job and
mhm,
still be happy. There's this saying that my mom always says that happiness is free. You know,
mhm.
it shouldn't cost you a lot of money to be happy. It shouldn't cost you
True,
anything to be with someone that makes you happy. You
true,
understand? Before
true.
you seek to be in a relationship, Ariel, stop please. Before you seek to be in a relationship with someone, you should be someone that wants to be. You should be happy being with yourself
Hmm,
before being with another person. Because once you're happy with yourself,
mhm,
you're coming to add onto someone else's life. You're
true.
not coming to take or share. The happiness that you have within you. If that person is not there, you should still be able to be happy.
Absolutely, you are right, Anna. That's a great point. Yeah, you can create
Yeah. So
happiness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great point.
So
But
for women that
mhm,
get in relationships with guys, shh, 1 second, please.
mhm,
Women that get in relationship with guys because of their money or whatever their reasons for dating is a wrong reason. You should want to go into someone's life because you want to add value and not necessarily that you want them to make you happy. No one should be the reason why you're happy.
hmm,
You have to make yourself happy so that when you're coming into that person's life, you guys can add value to each other.
that's great point, Anna.
Yeah.
Great point.
So
But Anna, what if the I mean, I know you were coming, but I mean, you made a great point that you gotta create. You go into somebody's life. You go into somebody's life. You go in there with that happiness. Go in there with that happiness. That's great. But again, I don't want to. You see, you made a great point. I don't want to come with a negative counter, but that's
No,
life.
I'm okay with you
Yeah,
coming with a
yeah,
negative counteraction. I don't mind it at all because I think we're here to learn from each other, right? We don't know
yeah.
much. We're not perfect. We don't know it all. We learn
Yeah.
from each other, and I think that's the reason
So,
why
so,
we're here.
okay. So, Anna, you carry that positive energy in a relationship, right? You're
Yeah.
happy, and so how do you know, like, how? What are the chances that the man is he gonna reciprocate? I mean, I understand you say he's not dead. You may have, but how do you? What are the chances that the man gonna accept? Like Anna can't happen. What if that man already, maybe he's a disjointed person, maybe he got his own stuff from, let's say, from some old religion or something going on. But
Mhm.
you, Anna, you go there with positivity, you go there with that happiness, because in your mind, you're not waiting for this man to make you happy. You creative, but remember, you guys are partner though. But you go
Yeah.
with happiness, but then he on the other side, he like, whoa, whoa, what kind of vibe this woman coming? He kind of like, he got a different reaction to y'all. Maybe he doesn't seem like a happy person. Something going on. I mean, how do you handle that?
Yeah, you not shower in the baby's bath. Yeah.
So,
I understand where you're coming from, right? That's why I mentioned that you're coming in a relationship to add value to each other. So if you come in a relationship with someone and you choose to want to be with someone that's broken, that's a personal choice, right? No
Okay,
one forced you into that relationship. Now, when you come into that relationship, you find that person's like somebody you want to be with. That's the reason why you agreed to be in that relationship, right?
true.
But when you're there, you want to be supportive. You want to be supportive and make Ariel. No noise, please. No noise. No noise. I'm gonna send you out. There's no noise. So what I was trying to say is that if you're that kind of a lady that is positive, I want to be supportive of your spouse or your partner. You want to help them,
Yep.
Right.
right? To
Yep.
get to where you're getting to. It doesn't mean you have to do the help yourself. You can refer them to resources that will help them get to where he needs to be,
Okay.
right? If you cannot do it on your own, but you cannot really, they say you cannot teach an old dog new
New
tricks.
tricks. Yep.
Yeah,
True.
so if you meet someone and you try to help them, they're not helping themselves, the most you can do is refer them to a professional that can help them. You can't do it all, but
True.
just that the effort, that the fact that you're there to support them is all that is gonna help them, you
That's
know,
true.
why the professional does the rest.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Miss
I don't know
Fee.
if I answered your question.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, we're finishing sharing the show because I didn't get to do it all earlier. But I was listening along with you guys. Absolutely. I agree with both of you guys. Like I said, my scenario that I was creating, it's all about what you feel like. I feel like the whole happily ever after, we all know like just because you're happy doesn't mean tomorrow you're not gonna be sad.
Mm,
You know, people just have to know that there's life always has up and down. That's what it's life, right?
yeah.
Just because tomorrow you guys will have an argument doesn't mean you can't pass that argument. If you can't pass that argument, then I don't know. You need a professional because you should understand that, you know, like the whole cliche word, right? Teeth and tongue can fight, right? I don't know if I'm saying it right. So
Yep.
you're still going to have everybody's growing daily. You are not the person that you were yesterday. Today you're a new person. You just woke up. So as you're growing, everybody is growing. The only key is you don't want to grow apart. You want to be growing together. And then, like creating that realistic goals in your mind. In a way, I feel like happily ever after is kind of like a goal that you accomplish, right? You
Yeah.
feel like you want this, you want that. Anything anybody want, I feel like they work at it. If you don't want something, you absolutely not put any effort into it. You just be like, whatever. But if it's something that you really want, and you know that is valuable to you, you will put all the work into it. You will exhaust all of your options to make sure you accomplish it. So, like what I was saying, Felicia, part of the 25%, I know that this is my fit. I didn't choose it, but being in Liberia, that's where I will be forever. So, I need a partner that understands what it is I want out of life and what he want out of life, and then together we work together. But if we're together and he's thinking like, nope, I'm gonna do this to try to go America, but he know that he will never get there, and he doesn't want to accept that fate, then maybe our happily ever after is gonna be shaky, and I have to start making decisions that will affect me. Vice versa in the U.S., right?
Yep.
Everybody's working. Everybody has a job, but not everybody makes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how do I create my happily ever after? Does me and my family, what is important to me? What do I find satisfaction in? People always say do things that makes you happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I gonna find that happiness? Is me being able to provide, pay my rent, you know. Hi. She just came from a party. You gotta go to bed now. It's late. Go to daddy. Go to daddy, okay? Oh, guys, Riley wants to say hi. Say hi. Hi, guys.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Say hi. Say, I'm Riley. Go to daddy, okay? You already said hi. Mommy gotta finish. Go. Go, go. Go, okay? Go, go, go. All right. We're going. Bye-bye. Oh, Riley, come on. Go to daddy. All right. Bye-bye. Yeah, so creating that moment for myself. Let's just say how I'm living now, right? I can pay my rent. I can pay for my kids' school. I can, like I feel like if I come home, I'm satisfied with where I live, my living condition. I'm able to help one or two people back home. Maybe that is my happily ever after. I feel like, all right, Lee, come on, put that at? You gotta go to bed. So I feel like I can create my own happily ever after and not being able to beg other people for this is why I don't have the show during the day. Because she feel like she's a natural, she wants to be on the show. But I
Yeah.
told her no. My husband will soon come and grab her. They went to a birthday party today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or else by this time she's sleeping. Okay, go to bed. Go get some milk. Milk? She likes milk. Go drink milk. Milk. Daddy has some milk. Go get milk. See, she's gone. She likes milk. So yeah,
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So when you talk about happily ever after, right? I thought
Mhm.
happily ever after was only based on relationships and not necessarily living your best life. So from what I'm hearing now, it sounds like you're saying living happily ever after is having having the time of your life and not necessarily being with a partner. So basically what you define as a good or a happy life. Is that what you're saying?
In my opinion, that's how I take that statement, right?
Okay.
Happily ever after is not about finding Prince Charming and because as we all know how that was described, it was a storybook, right? That
Mhm.
was a movie, and that was somebody's idea about somebody living happily ever after, like finding their dream man and everything involved with that. Was that's how I interpret that word or that
Okay.
statement, you know. For
Sense.
me, my happily ever after is kind of like everything incorporated, like finding the person that understand me, I understand them, we work together, building our family, and then like anything, everything that falls in between that. That's
Okay.
how I define that.
I see. Okay.
Mhm.
So what's about now? I think we kind of like we're looking at all the positives of happily ever.
Yeah.
Let's make it ugly a little bit. So what's about let's yes, let's look at some things that might, and I said might potentially damage, happily ever mood, like finances, spending,
Right.
like sex, like so many other things that could you think everything is nice, going, at maybe 30 at a nice 35 miles per hour, and then all of a sudden, so yeah, boom, that sounds so. I mean, let's look at finance.
Okay.
Finance is one of the things that it has been a problem, in relationships, spending habit,
Right.
yeah, people the husband and wife, they get along, they cool, on the outside surface, but then when it comes to the way the woman uses money, it's a little concern. Maybe she got a shopping habit, which for her is part of her happiness.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's part of her happiness, but at the same time, yeah, the male say, yeah, my wife, everything going good. She buy what she wants, but then it kind of in the long, in the shorter term, it might not be a problem, but in the longer term, now little dissent start to creep in. So how do you handle that part to make sure that you guys on the same, trajectory, not to ruin the happily ever ending. While you're answering, I'll be watching it. Let me just, I just got a call quick. Let me answer it. I'll come right back, guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a really good question because, sometimes we think like happily ever after will not have, hiccups, which is part of life. And that's a really good one. So somebody has bad habit, spending habits, and you feel like everything else is fine, but that one area is not working. And I think that's where conversation, like, I don't know, like you have to talk to each other. You can't like walk on eggshells because this person worked too, they're contributing. No, it's affecting you. Talk about it. I feel like talk about it, but be very intentional and knowing how you're going to start the conversation without accusing the person. Learning how to really start conversation is a key, and I think like a lot of people really lack that. You don't want to accuse people. You don't want to make someone feel less than who they are, especially your partner, because remember you can always start with you always, and that you once you start with a sentence that said you're always, it is not going to end well because I feel like you're already starting with a judgment, and you shouldn't start with judgment. If money is an issue where the other individual living there should also know that money is issue because every other area of your life is being affected. So that's a great way to start communicating. And if that person refuses to actually notice the things that are happening around to affect you, where money is an issue, then there's a bigger problem. You probably need counseling, because you're not going to win anything. You're not going to get any point across because that person is literally in doubt and don't believe that money should be an issue because they're not paying attention to how it's affecting you or the family. So, River's pro question was, let's say everything's great. You've created that happily ever after in your own world, and now you are at a full speed where you're struggling because of financial stuff, and the other individual is not accepting that. Again, you start with a really good conversation. Start with a really good conversation. Basically, finding out when is the best time to talk to that person. And that's another thing I feel like people don't understand about their partners. Like, you need to know when that person has their good times. Like, when are they in their best mood to talk to them? Is it when you guys are just playing around or joking around? And then you quickly kind of sneak in a question where then you both stop and just start to talk? Or does it has to be planned where you have to say, hey, do you think we can kind of do some check catch up, maybe try to create another structure about how our spending habit is and where we could actually save money? Maybe, creating that, you have to create a safe environment so someone feels like you're not coming at them and they feel like you can talk to them. But if it's somebody, I know a lot of people, and I have seen, you guys, there's a lot of people in our community who would be like, I work, it's my money, I can spend it however way I want to. Those type of people, it's going to be really difficult for you to have that conversation because they've already made up their mind that you cannot tell them anything, and that's what it is. And they can do whatever they want with the money that they make, and you should not even have the audacity to say a word. Then you have a bigger problem where, you guys, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, Anna, do you have anything to add to that? I might have to end this show
Yeah,
shortly.
I have one thing to add before we can
Hmm.
end. I agree with you with making sure that you have a conversation with your partner about whatever issues that you guys experiences. Like in this case, it's finances. Also just making sure you catch the person in the right mood to bring up the conversation to reduce any tensions that has occurred. The other thing that I would like to add is that every happily ever after, even in the fairy tale books that we read, there's always a huddle or an issue that
Yep.
will cause like friction in the relationship. So there's no perfect relationship,
Mhm.
but making sure that you work through that huddle or that issue is where your happily ever after comes out, you know. So
Right.
in this case, just having an open communication, making sure that you guys try to be on the same page and try to compromise. Compromising is one of the biggest things I would like to say in a relationship. You have to compromise. It's not everything that you like that will happen. Turn it off, please.
Right.
Yeah. So just being open, having an open communication, and also being willing to compromise, and hearing each other out will make a big difference.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it on you hit the nail. I don't know, whatever that that
you hit
expression.
the nail on the head.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head because I mean, the only thing I'll add to that is also being ready to accept whatever answers comes. Like if you're not acceptance of whatever comes, that's where the prejudgment come in, where I feel like the friction gets in the way too. Like just know that if you say, honey, you're spending too much money, you should already be ready to know that of course somebody being on the spot, you saying that they're gonna feel like, oh, you're observing all their mood. Like every time they use money, are you just observing it? So you need to be prepared for whatever it is that come and you don't feel disappointed. Maybe you can kind of like give tips to that person if there was a negative counter where you can say, well, I do understand, X, Y, and Z. Maybe we could just save in this area to do this thing that we've been working on. So I feel like, just being prepared for whatever it is to come helps in that situation to kind of like decrease the tension a little bit. Um, and I don't think people should talk about issues when they are hot and heavy about it because then you're not going to accomplish anything. So, today I'm here to tell you yes, happily ever after, it is realistic into this world because you're going to create your own. And if you create your own, it's become even beneficial for you and you don't have to worry about anything else that anybody else have to tell you. So create your own happily ever after. I didn't even think this conversation was gonna go this long, but hey, here we are.
It
Oh
was a very
man.
lovely topic, and I think I learned a lot from hearing you and Riverside Pro talking. It's
Yeah, I
something
wish
that
Riverside Pro can come
social,
on to give his
social,
closing statement. Yeah,
yeah,
he always helped this show, like I call him like the free thinker. Like he has really good questions. He dig deep into topics and pick them out. Shoot, people like that know it's hard to write a paper because you have so many questions and things to ask.
yeah,
Because your mind is like running in different directions and you have so much that you can give to a paper, especially when you're writing those paper that limits you to how many words. That can be very, very tough. Especially he's a deep thinker. And
yeah,
I like him on this show because he really asks those questions that, we're not typically trying to point out, but I like it.
yeah. One thing I would also like to say is that social media has caused a lot of people to think that there's something called a perfect relationship.
Right. Welcome back.
Whereby
We were just gossiping about you.
Yeah, yeah. My co-worker, we had I think I forgot to turn something off. So he go in there.
Oh,
So he called me to ask me since
oh,
Saturday. So he go in. Yeah, he a maintenance guy. So but
okay.
yeah, so that's why I went up. So I know we ending now, but you see, I asked that question, guys, because I had a friend, nice guy. Hope he's not watching. White guy, you know, his wife works at a bank, and they are look, they are. I wouldn't say they are perfect, but they are near perfect couple. Very nice. White guy, but he down to earth. Come to my house. The man will eat chicken for you. Will eat palm butter.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he was. I used to call him Amish. I used to say, man, you're not even real white, cause he was down to earth. His
He
wife.
Jato, like Jato man.
Yeah, his wife nice. But when we go out, we used to hang out. Sometimes, man, we go to the bar. But then his wife will. I noticed that. I think his wife, because I think they have one of those joint accounting. So
Hmm.
while we buying drinks, all of a sudden he went, because she was a banker.
Oh
So
yeah. Ooh.
so she had a way of blocking. Yeah, she would block the card.
You can set a limit on how much you can spend
Yeah,
on the card.
and for me, hey guys, I'm sorry, but for me, from the African male dominated culture, like bro, at first she did it to her one time. I'm looking like, and he said, "My wife, like, what the what? She blocked your card. So what? She controlling your spending? I'm there. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, but this is not right. You the man, but he didn't get. He said, oh. Then we went out another time. We were having fun. Buying drinks, and she did it again. So that's why I'm asking you guys. I mean, how do you guys see? I know we're talking about
To be
all
to
these
be
things,
honest,
but
I think your friend, your coworker,
hmm
I don't want to say he's a liar, but even if his wife cannot block his car without him knowing. Before he left,
That's why
if he's
I'm laughing.
living the happily ever after with his wife will know that he's going out and he should expect him to drink. She can tell him like, "Hey, please, you know our finances. Please make sure you don't overspend." And maybe he's just too embarrassed to say, "Man, we've bought too many drinks. I don't want to overstep. Like I don't want to overspend because we're short or
but
we're
yeah,
going to some things." His wife, every a couple may set a limit on their bank, which is a normal thing people do every day. But
okay.
I don't think he's not aware of it, or his wife just woke up and was tracking how much he was spending at the club that night. That is
But
very
yeah,
So
yeah,
untrue.
I
yeah.
was just going to ask for that. I'm laughing so hard because me and my husband do that. Like
hmm
we have an account where we have a limit. There's how much we can spend. So we have this budget thing where we spend certain amount for entertainment, right?
yeah.
So if you decide to go out, if you decide to do this for that month, there's certain amount of money that we both agree to allocate to that just for that. So if you spend that and that's done, the car's gonna shut up.
So yeah, so okay, Anna, to your point, so why he used to like, for example, from the beginning when I met him, or going on, he would say, "Oh, his wife needs." He would say, "Oh, Sarah said I can use $50."
That's
So
what most white guys do, but nah.
yeah, I was like,
It's not Sarah that is telling him anything. They
Yeah,
have an agreement.
agreement.
Yes.
wow.
He
Yeah,
just
so
doesn't want to. He just wants to put it as if his wife is the one controlling him, so he can
Yeah,
look
uh,
like, oh, he don't want to look cheap in front of you.
right. And
okay.
also too, the idea where if the wife is happy, happy home,
Uh-huh.
I would say most of the Caucasian home really model that, where it's like, you don't want to upset the wife, let her be in charge. Like they really model that, but it's not.
So 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 with it, finally, guys, let me just bring the last one because I talk about finance and I talk about so sex too. Okay, so
Yeah.
everything going good, but then maybe the man reached at some point. I mean, you guys know how it is that he lost interest in sex, or maybe the woman does lost interest in sex. So maybe for some reason, they're not. So how do you, I mean, you guys were everything was nice, everything on course, love each other and things going good. But when it comes to your sex life, either partner one one partner has lost sex, and every time the other man or the woman comes and want to, the guy like, oh, it just, how do you handle that in order to keep, to keep the relationship happy? Do you recommend like a counselor, sex counselor,
It you
or?
can you can
Mhm,
have
Go
you
ahead,
can
Anna.
you can have a sex counselor if you want to, but I think it takes two to tango, right?
uh-huh,
Yes, majority of the time men tend to still have a higher sex drive than women.
mhm,
But if you're a woman that knows that your spouse likes sex, you have to compromise. You have to try to look for ways to keep him in the zone, in the mood,
There
right?
you go. Look at
So
you. He's
because
like, yeah.
because as you guys get older and you have
mhm,
kids tend to take a lot of the women's attention.
true.
And so as a woman you have to still remember that before you were a mom, you were a
Mhm,
wife, and the husband has to understand that, okay, if she can't give me today, maybe if we used to do it 5 times or 7 times a week,
uh-huh,
we would, if we have it 3 or 4 times a week, it should be okay,
okay,
because there's other factors in the picture now. So
true.
it takes two to tango. What I'm trying to say is that every person in that relationship have to do their best to try to make the relationship or the sex spontaneous and interesting. So if you're losing interest, look for things that used to make you attracted to your wife to get you to that level, so you don't completely lose interest and you start looking at other women out there. So look for the things that initially made you attracted to your wife, even if she's not skinny the way she was.
Mm.
Look for things about her that you like. Take her out on date nights, find a babysitter or something. Do things, even take her out to the club, where her mind is free. If it means for you to get her to get drunk and see a different
Yeah.
person, do
But,
it.
yeah, 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 but Anna, okay, before fee coming, some guys like, I heard story before that some guys say, you know what, I can't make it, and I buy you a sex toy. I mean, will you recommend anything like that? For the man said, well, honey, I'm in a situation where, I don't feel it all the time, but I mean, rather than you going out to meet another person, maybe you can get it. I mean, is that something recommendable? I mean, is it advisable?
No, I
I
need
don't
to jump in.
I I
No.
I don't recommend, like having a sexual toy or whatever, which is supposed to be taking the place of your spouse,
Yeah.
because automation causes, maybe spot on, you know what I mean? Like how I say vibrators are things that, of course, know exactly what to do, right?
It's a machine.
And
It was
yeah, to
designed.
make sure, exactly. So it would cause you to lose interest in your spouse because it would not be as good as your spouse.
Okay.
But
I can't
because,
wait to jump in, y'all.
huh?
I said I can't wait to say something.
Go ahead and say something.
No, 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 no sex toys, please. One, remember the whole purpose of sex is for you to renew your connection,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're getting her toys, then you're like, so before I even go to that, one, I feel like men in general is very, very hard for men to lose interest in sex, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. If the guy is losing interest in sex, something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the goal is both individual have to maintain attraction. You guys are about attraction. You're about what you see, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes I feel like men don't want to hurt the wife's feelings. So they don't really take that time to really be delicate and have that conversation. If you're losing attraction, that's something you really have to talk about. It's not negative people usually come together and think is negative, but that's a way of you connecting and talking about it and seeing how best you can help to bring that back, you know? And I feel like a lot of people try to avoid talking about it because they're like, oh, I don't want to, step on toes. But I'm very, very grateful for my relationship because that's something like we're open about talking about it, If
Mhm.
you're losing interest in it, like we got to talk about it. What's wrong? What happened? What am I doing? That because my goal is if we're going to be intimate, my goal is to please you.
Mhm.
And if we're going to be intimate, your goal is to please me.
True.
So what am I doing that I'm not pleasing you? What are you doing that you're not pleasing me? Let's talk about it. So that's the first thing. You have to be able to maintain attraction. If it's me doing my hair, you
Hmm.
like when I do my hair. So guess what? I'm gonna cautiously, even though there are other factor in which Anna is absolutely right. You should be able to compromise, but I should also be able to put that input in there. If me doing my hair is what you like, if me, wearing something nice to bed, that's gonna motivate you to be interested in that. Then let's look into it. Like, what can I do to help? Because a lot of people are really losing that, and the thing is just about yeah, let me just clear my mind and stuff. No, it's about us renewing our connections because throughout the whole day, the whole week, we're preoccupied with a whole lot of things, and we have to do that. And another thing, you men are about visual, right? We're about what we hear. So if I'm not hearing, you have to plan. You have to set us up for that. I feel like a lot of African men don't get that. Like, you need to be able to have that conversation. I need to be able to talk to you. If you're my man, I have to be able to send you messages to prepare you for it. Not like we're planning it, but be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Even though you live in the same house, you should be able to still have that type of conversation. Like, hey, I can't wait to see you tonight. It's like you're getting my mind ready. Or hey, beautiful, how are you today? Tonight when you come home, make sure you put that children into bed because I want to spend some quality time with you. Whatever your conversation is, so it prepares the person to know that okay, when I get home, I know my man likes me if I wear the red pajamas, right? So maybe I will wear that red pajamas. I know where his mind is, and I know what's gonna happen. So I'm prepared for it. But if that attraction is not there, then now you start to work with each other to try to figure out because if you make the mistake, you get a toy, guess what? You're going to be on that toy for the rest of your
So,
life.
yeah, guys, that you got made some great point. Now I'm laughing at myself, right? So
Yeah.
I remember a while ago when I came back to the United States, my wife like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna leave, we're gonna go like, oh no, like a little romantic thing, go find a little hotel, just two of us.
Yeah.
I'm like, country, but I'm like, what do we want talking about? Because that, that's not that's not something I'm used to. My wife said we're gonna go find like a hotel. We find, we have a quiet time. We leave the children.
Yeah.
Baby said, but for me, it was like, why would I leave my house? But
House and go waste money. That's always you're thinking about that.
I feel like, why am I gonna waste money to go to a hotel? I
Can
got my
I get a house?
so, coming from Africa, it is down on me that those are things, that kind of like bond you got bond
Yes.
together.
Change of scenery, right?
Yeah,
Change of environment help to even rebuild that connection as
yeah,
well because kids really take a lot from you. A lot.
yeah, you know. So, so, so,
Yeah.
so there, I'm thinking that. So, guys, like, I mean, imagine me at the time. So, I mean, let's look at it culturally now. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
for me, it's not an isolated incident. A lot of African,
Right.
a lot of
A
African.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so how I mean they're coming here and all those things you're talking about, Fee. Like wearing dresses. Those things back home, Fee. Those
It
things.
don't matter.
Well, the man was saying, "What kind of grown up woman?" Yeah. So I mean, how do we work on that back, back home? Because those are things, you those things that you explain, those are things that destroy relationship back home. No romance, nothing. It just, when a woman try to do something, the man like, don't bring out granite in front of me. Who you been talking to? How can you know all these things?
Yeah.
All that mentality. So I mean, I think those are things that which we have a lot of viewers from Liberia. I know it's late now, but those are things that people really need.
Yeah, I'm trying to change the show to 3 p.m. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that would be helpful.
yeah. People need to listen to that thing. People need to listen. Listen to the points you guys made. The points Anna make to that couples being satisfied because
Yeah.
back home is a problem. It's a problem. People like oh, the man, I don't know what happened, and there's lack of communication. People not explaining. The man turn his back to the woman, or the woman turn her back, and they go on for weeks, for months. And the woman will tell her friend, "Well, me and that man, we just lay now. We almost like brother and sister. We don't even touch each other." And
That's not okay.
yeah,
That's not okay. That's not okay. That's what make, when the kids are all grown, like you don't know what to do now. You're
yeah,
like, man, what do we do now? And you find a lot of people like they're going their separate ways and everybody's doing extracurriculum activity outside doing stuff.
yeah,
That is not okay because again, you're creating your happily ever after. And
yeah,
sometimes too, people don't know, like maybe there's so much on the man's mind. He's just thinking about, maybe you're going through the family's going through some things and the mind is preoccupied because if your mind is not free, you can't really be intimate fully.
true,
And
true.
people don't understand that. That's why you have to have grace. Maybe the man is trying to find a new job. He just lost his job. That is not your time to be like, oh, our sex life is on hold. No, you have to, you have to be understanding. You have to talk through them and get their mind to ease off for you to fully be there. And I also feel like people don't know you can play games in your bedroom. Play some, question and answers games. It kind of like lighten you up to really start to get involved into it. Maybe let's just say the attraction is dying. Then now you start asking questions. I'm telling you guys, my husband be like, this girl be asking all kinds of questions. Jesus Christ. But it's because I want to know, and he plays along with it. We ask questions, we talk to each other, and things like that. I think that's what really helped because I will tell you, there was some point of our relationship where I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. If we don't fix this right now, this is not going to work. And I'm somebody, I don't really, when I'm mad, like I hold things in a lot and then I end up, you know, but
Yeah,
as I'm, learning and growing each day, it's like, okay, calm down, Felicia. Try to figure out how to communicate. It's not about you balling it in and saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then, boosh, it doesn't work. So, just being open and just talk about it. Even if it's not today, watch the person mood and just figure out, okay, tomorrow, let's talk about it. It's simple. I don't know why women feel like talking about weight is something that you shouldn't talk about. No. If you have children, obviously you're going to have the weight, but how do you make yourself look appealing to your partner in that body that you're in now? Because those things are things that can be changed. It doesn't have to be forever, but what are those things that you can do to keep that attraction? That was a topic that I was actually going to talk about last week. Like, how do you maintain attraction in your relationship? you know and I feel like people really need to pay attention to that. That's not why I don't want to say, people be like, oh,
I would like that topic very much because I would like to hear from a man's perspective.
yeah, yeah. That's that. Okay. What the fifth reason? So yeah, my battery going dead now. So guys, it was a wonderful show. Thank you, Anna. You guys make great points. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my internet is tripping now. I don't know what's going on. Is it raining?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So yeah, so yeah. So yeah, thank you. My battery kind of like and I think I got supposed to call, but it was a great
thank you.
conversation. Thank you very much for having me again. I mean, it
Thank
was
you.
great. Thank you for all those wonderful topics. And you know that I was sure here, so I will always be
Yeah.
on. Yeah, thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so much. You're always welcome. When we're gossiping, we say you always ask, you're a great thinker. You
Yeah,
ask a lot of really deep questions for topic. That's why I always look forward for you to be on the show, actually.
thank you.
Because I'm like, River says first about to bring us some questions.
Yeah,
So thank you so much. Thank you,
okay.
Anna, as well, for being on the show and contributing. Hopefully,
Thank
people
you.
will watch this.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
okay.
was very informative. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
You
much. You
guys
guys
have a
have
good
a
day.
great week.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Bye
All
bye.
right. Take care. Bye
Rio,
bye.
brush your teeth.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. See you next week. All right. Let's call it a day. Oh, didn't end the live stream.